Hi, I'm Franz Schneiderman. I'm a consumer advocate in Maryland, working with Consumer Auto of Maryland to protect Maryland drivers and car buyers from auto safety issues and make sure everyone has the safety information they need about their cars. I'm here with Laura Christian. Laura is also a consumer advocate and auto safety advocate. Laura is the mother of Amber Marie Rose, a young Maryland woman who died in 2005 in an auto accident that was caused by a safety flaw in her new Chevy Cobalt. Laura, can you tell us a little bit about your daughter Amber and what made her such a special person?
I'd be happy to. Amber was incredible. So intelligent, so beautiful, so full of life. She literally just charmed everybody she was around. She loved to write poetry, stories, and even started her own newspaper in grade school.
Can you tell us what happened the night of her accident?
July 29th, 2005, I got a phone call. Amber had been driving and was in an accident and she didn't make it. We later found out that the car had a safety defect that caused the ignition switch to go from the on position to accessory.
So because it was in that position, she didn't have power steering and her airbag wouldn't inflate when she ran into a tree?
That's correct. Actually, from going from the run position to the accessory, it disables power steering, power brakes, and also makes it so that the airbags would never deploy.
And do you believe she would have survived the accident if her airbags had inflated the way they should have?
Oh, I'm sure she would have. The EMTs told us at the funeral that had her airbags deployed, that she would have been alive. I mean, aside from what really happened, she would have just had a cut on her lip.
Were you shocked when you learned that her accident and her death was caused by the safety problem that hadn't been addressed by the car maker?
I was completely shocked. I mean, this car was purchased because of its high safety ratings. We had no idea that such a thing was wrong with the car or even that GM knew about it for so long.
Did you take your concerns to the company once you learned about the problem?
Oh, absolutely.
And how did General Motors respond to you?
Well, I honestly believe that they didn't know, that I was giving them this information for the first time and that they were going to fix the problem. You know, they thanked me and basically sent me on my way back then.
So they really didn't address the concerns you brought to them?
I'd hoped they would. I found out later, as we all did in February of 2014, that they just covered it up.
Have you talked with the family members of other victims? What happened when they reached out to GM?
Well, when I reached out to other family members, most were not even aware that their child or loved one had been killed because of a safety defect. But those that did know, GM just minimized them. You know, I mean, you gotta understand, Franz, they're just regular people like you and I, and you know, GM's such a large corporation. They didn't feel like they could fight them.
As I understand it, General Motors knew about this problem in 2001, and in 2005 they sent a technical service bulletin to their dealers, but they didn't begin to recall the cars until 2014?
And isn't that appalling?
Why did they delay all those years?
Money. Why else? You know, what we found out is that a single life, you know, paying off a victim's family is only going to cost them X amount of dollars, whereas a full recall costs them millions. It was the cost of doing business to them.
So you think they stonewalled to save themselves money?
Oh, I know they did.
And for all those years while the cars were waiting to be recalled, I mean, how many people were hurt or killed in accidents? Do you have any idea?
I've personally found over 170. Clarence Stitlow of the Center for Auto Safety estimates it at approximately 303. But in reality, we're never going to know. You know, in essence, GM's cover-up worked. We're never going to know how many people died or were injured because of that safety defect.
And you think a lot of those lives could have been saved if GM had repaired the cars when they knew about the defect in the middle 2000s?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So many of our children would still be alive today.
You created a Facebook page as a kind of online community for families of other victims. What kind of response did you get to that effort?
You know, that's the thing about grieving. When you lose a child, it never really goes away. That pain is always a part of you. I created that page as a way to reach out to other people that are going through the same thing in the hopes that maybe we can heal just a little bit.
Have you thought about what kind of policy changes, what sort of different approaches to the problem might have prevented some of these accidents, might help us save lives like your daughter's in the future?
I'm glad you asked that. I've given this a great deal of thought. What I recently found out was that dealerships are prohibited from telling consumers about any safety issues or technical service bulletins until it becomes a full-blown recall. I mean, it only took GM 13 years to do the last recall. I mean, if we had had this information from, as soon as the dealerships had it, imagine how many lives would be saved.
So for many years, the dealers knew a lot of this information and they couldn't publish that information or talk to their customers about it?
No, the car manufacturers actually penalize the dealerships. They just want to help us and give us the information, but they're banned from it. How crazy is that?
What sort of difference would it have made in your life, your family's life, if you had access to the information, when you needed it before your daughter's accident?
Amber might be here today. Hundreds of other people would probably be here today. It would have made all the difference.